I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 7. As my mom remembers it, the family was in the living room watching TV, just like we did most evenings back then, when she suddenly noticed that I kept getting up to use the bathroom. That caught her attention first, and then the next time I was in the bathroom, she could hear me whimpering through the door. I wasn't the type of kid to complain, so that, plus the frequent urination, a classic symptom, clued her in. Of course, she lived with a husband who had diabetes, so she knew the signs, and she had on hand everything she needed to test her suspicion. Back then, this was the late 1950s, people with diabetes would test their blood sugar levels by peeing on yellow test tape. If the test paper turned green, then your blood sugar was high. If it stayed the same color, then it wasn't. The greener it turned, the more sugar you had on board. The next time I had to go to the bathroom, Mom had me use one of Dad's test papers. It turned bright green. She got me an appointment at the doctor soon after that. He took more accurate measurements, and Mom remembers him saying that my blood sugar wasn't really all that high for a newly diagnosed patient. She had caught it early, a lot earlier than most people who don't know the symptoms to look for, which was fortunate. But that's not what I remember most about that time. What I remember most is having to go to the hospital right away. I spent several days in the hospital after that. They put me on insulin and taught me how to give myself shots. A nurse had me practice on an orange. I was nervous at first, but it never occurred to me, even at that young age, that I wouldn't be able to do it. My parents acted like it was no big deal, so I guess I believed that too. Initially, however, I didn't understand that the shots were going to be part of my day-to-day for the rest of my life. Or maybe I just wasn't thinking about it until one day, after I got out of the hospital, I had something of a meltdown. I had been sick before, but it had always been temporary, the kind of thing where you did what was necessary to get through it and get better. This was different, and I got so upset about the fact that I had to keep having these shots day after day after day. I was crying when I said to my parents, "It's not fair." "You're going to learn pretty quickly that life isn't fair," my dad said to me matter-of-factly in response. "It's not fair, but you're going to have to learn to live your life anyway." I was still upset, but there was something about the sentiment that made sense to me. It helped me to accept the things I couldn't change, like the fact that I had diabetes and always would, and focus instead on what I could control. That practical perspective has stayed with me. It has often helped me through hard times. Often, but not always.